Okay, welcome everyone to day 16 of What I Learned, the daily vlog from Matt Williams, Techno-Evangelist. Thanks you so much for watching. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of things. I got to talk about the hallway track, some amazing slides for Stanley Zheng's What Happens When You Google, and those slides were done by Lookmai Rattana. Mike Rollins talked about speed and stability. Ben Schoenfeld and Will Houp talked about data journalism and the $80 ticket. And Jenna Zeigan gave a whirlwind tour of tips and tricks for front-end performance. Oh, and by the way, before I really get started, Avid and M Audio. I don't know why I own this stupid audio interface. Every time I use it, I have to reboot my Mac. On every Mac I've ever owned, I've always had to do this. It is such a pain just a pain. And you get something like iConnectivity's interfaces, and they're just so much better quality, better sound, better performance. Why does Avid still exist as a company? I don't understand. First off, the hallway track had an amazing conversation after the first session of second day. Now, I don't know what was meant for public consumption and what needed to stay secret, so I'm not going to talk about any details of what I said with this guy. But, I've always heard that the hallway track can be the best part of a conference, and I don't know if I've ever really taken advantage of that. And that conversation was amazing, and I look forward to dispersing bits and pieces of that over the course of the next few videos or entire life. So hopefully more of that kind of conversation in future conferences. Stanley Zheng and Lookmai Rattana. Stanley gave this amazing talk. He works at CloudReach, and he gave this amazing talk about what happens when you request something online. Now, this is based on a GitHub repo that shows here's what happens when you make a request online. But he put it into a presentation, and he worked with this woman, Lookmai Rattana, to illustrate them. I think that's some of the most creative slides I've ever seen. And I've go to a lot of conferences. I've been to a lot of presentations. These slides were just absolutely spectacular. I have a few of them here, probably been watching them a little bit as I talk, but you can find the rest at the link below. So that was really spectacular. I saw Mike Rollins talk about speed and stability. He works over at Outlier, I believe, a former Yahoo guy. And one of the folks I knew who's all about performance was there too. I don't know if he's still there. Steve Souders. It's been a while since I ran into Steve, but I used to meet up with him at a bunch of velocities in London and in New York. It was an interesting talk about performance. He came mostly from a mobile perspective, but in his new role, apparently he's doing a little bit more web performance as well. He also did a video about revolutions.
Oh man, I violated the code of conduct already.
So it's only got 10 views as of when I watched it, so you should go watch that too. It's kind of a fun little video. I haven't found his slides yet for this presentation, but he talked a lot about performance, a lot of great stuff in there. But the biggest takeaway that stays top of mind is when he talked about you've hit it big when yours is the app used for toilet time. Now, I guess I could go into more detail about that, but I think it might get me a strike on YouTube. So I'm just going to leave it there.
And just because it's at the halfway through day 2 doesn't mean we're halfway over with the fun.
No.
Apparently
there was a keg in one of the hotel rooms last night.
Is that right?
I heard may have been room 501 put on by one of the organizers. 1406, yeah.
I heard that's the new hot club, Club 1406.
So anyway, next session was data journalism, Ben Schoenfeld and Will Houp. So Will works for the Virginian Pilot, and Ben Schoenfeld is a civic activist. They use a lot of D3 and Python and lots of other tools to find data sources and make them more accessible and more usable to try to get a story across. We don't have any slides yet, but hopefully, we did get a shot of them preparing. You can see they worked very hard at preparing this slide deck. But I did learn about a few things. I learned about a library that's similar to Beautiful Soup for Node called Cheerio. I didn't know about that. And I learned about a cool tool for taming and simplifying large map files, detailed map files called mapshaper.org. So I look forward to playing with those. Ben had series at medium.com/@VirginiaCourtData and talked about he was able to collect data about speeding tickets and many other things, many other court appearances. But with speeding tickets in Virginia, apparently they changed their speed limit at some point recently from 60 or 65 to 70. But the law for reckless driving is still pegged at 80, or if you go above 80. So, and that comes with jail time and all sorts of bad stuff. So the police are actually, they want to give you a ticket that's going to hurt, but not hurt too much. If you get a ticket and you're going like 81, 82, you're going to get a ticket for 80 because that way you get some sort of thing that you have to pay, but you're not going to, it's not going to force a long visit in a very uncomfortable cell. Jenna Zeigan. Let's go with Zeigan. I gave a whirlwind tour of web performance tips. Much of it was already familiar to me, but it was a good reminder of things like using SourceSet for multiple images depending on the width of the browser or resolution of the browser. I really need to look into using WebP and SVG. Those are definitely formats I've known about for a long time, but I just never got around to using. So in the middle of the day, there was a panel about public speaking in tech. And a lot of it was trying to get people to see that public speaking, yes, there are definitely problems that people come up with, issues that that you just don't expect. I've definitely had some of those. I've gone to a meetup where I planned for it, most of the day. I built out great slides. I get there, and 5 minutes before my session, my slides are gone. I was able to be moved back to the next session, which was like about 20, 30 minutes later, and I recreated my slides from scratch. And it worked really well, but that was kind of a thing that goes wrong sometimes. But just interesting discussion. I got up to say that, some tips around trying to reduce the nerves. Basically, my tips are find a staircase nearby and run up and down them for just one flight. Don't go crazy. One flight, and that will kind of calm you down a bit. Also grab 2 sheets of paper and crumple them up really tight just as you go on. And that helps reduce some of the nerves as well. Okay, so, and that was the end. And that brought me to about 5:45. I had a 7:30 flight or 7:40 flight. So I needed to get to the airport. And so I got my bag and changed into something a little more comfortable for the flight. And then I called an Uber, and I didn't expect it to take 10 minutes for the Uber driver to get to me. It took 10 minutes, and then about 2 minutes later, it was 11 minutes. And then, a minute or two later, it was 13 minutes, and then 14 minutes. And this was a bad sign. So I saw somebody else had their Uber app open, and I chatted them up. Turned out it was Jeff Blankenburg from Amazon. He had done a workshop, I think, on building your first voice experience with Alexa workshop. I said, well, can I join you for the ride to the airport? So we sat in there and we shared a ride to the airport in his Uber. And it was a great discussion. At some point, we're going to figure out why we know each other, because we both recognize each other. We don't follow each other on Twitter. Well, not yet, not until now. And we both used to work at Microsoft, but no longer, but our times don't coincide with each other. I've definitely done a lot of work with Amazon and AWS, but I don't know if it must have been a reinvent somewhere that we must have met. Anyway, thank you, Jeff, for that Uber ride, and I look forward to seeing how you fork on this idea of the daily What I Learned video. Because I mentioned this concept to him, and he says, oh, that's so cool. I got to do that. I'm going to do that on Twitch. So he's going to do this on Twitch, and hopefully it will be as awesome as mine is, because you all know this is awesome. And so he's a pretty awesome guy, so maybe he will do something amazing as well. Okay, so that brings me to the end. The last thing I need you to do is click on the subscribe button down below. Now, I always get this wrong. I sometimes point that way or sometimes point that way. I don't know which way it is. It's one of these two directions. There's a subscribe button. And there's also, when you do that, you have to click on notify so that you get notified when there is a new video. I'm posting these every day, but it's different times during the day. You never know when I'm going to have time to do this. But thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.